Good to see you again. Week 5. Welcome again, everybody, to the program.
Morning, Richard. Yeah, I can't believe week 5 already. Whizzing by.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, and I guess for a lot of people taking part, they'll be a lot more aware that it's week 5 than perhaps I am, for example, because they've been training in new ways, working hard, and more engaged with you where they haven't been in the past. So, how's it all going?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, well, I've moved a few riders out of Group 1, uploaded their training, and I don't appear to have had any sessions uploaded, whether that was a technical issue or whether they've just not been doing the sessions. But yeah, a few riders have moved out, but we expected that, didn't we? So
standard attrition, isn't it? In these things. Okay. And so I guess we've had 4 or 5 weeks. People did their FTP, and I know we were talking about sort of the structure of the coached riders would have sort of an initial period, and then they'd now sort of be moving into the second phase of the training, if I were to call it that.
Yeah, so we wanted to move out of the summer road season, didn't we? And then traditionally through the beginning of August, you have a bit of a downtime. It's really too soon in the training phases to start peaking for next season. So you want a transitional phase out of that summer road season and into the winter build phase. So a lot of the riders in Group 1 had a few weeks anyway of just their own, just riding around, not doing anything particularly structured. And then we set them 20-minute power tests to do to benchmark them at the start of the program. And then instead of going straight into interval sessions, we've just been working on the very basics, lower aerobic ranges in zone 2 endurance riding and some off the bike strength work. The off the bike strength work really, it's multifaceted really. What we're trying to do is improve leg strength fundamentally. That in itself means you can push the pedals harder, so we increase crank torque and then we turn that into power further down the line. But it works on so many other levels as well. It addresses any muscle imbalances left to right across the body, but also helps with injury prevention. If anyone's got lower back issues or twinges in the hips or knees, it tends to be because you've been very cycling centric in your training. We're all a bit guilty of just getting on a bike and just doing cycling. If you've got 10 hours a week to train or 5 hours a week to train, you tend to do 10 hours or 5 hours on the bike.
You do.
Whereas you're better off taking a couple of those hours and doing some preventative work, stretching and yoga, that type of thing, but strength sessions as well.
Especially this time of year, I guess, when
it's the ideal time. It takes about a minimum of 4 weeks to start adapting to the strength work, and during that time you'll feel a bit dead-legged and fatigued, and it'll impact on your cycling sessions for sure. So you want to kind of get that process underway and started before any intervals, otherwise it'll have a detrimental effect on any type of structured cycling sessions that you try and do.
Okay, interesting stuff. And so the people benefiting from the Group 1 people will be doing that, benefiting from your experience. Do we have much insight into what Group 2 are doing? I know if they're uploading to Training Peaks, you should be seeing that. Is that like a very varied group, or is there a trend, do you think?
It's a very varied group, but with quite obvious trends. Really, there tends to be the people that are just doing very sporadic road rides, and that appears to be a trend. And then there's a group of riders that have disappeared inside on their bike and are just doing Zwift sessions. And then there's a set of riders that are doing both. So they're making use of the good weather while we've got it, and then combining that with some more structured Zwift. Everyone appears to be on Zwift, but
Yeah.
they're doing more structured sessions in Zwift.
Okay. I think you forget there are alternatives to Zwift sometimes, don't you?
Yeah, you do. It's
And
the
of
big
course,
one.
you want to ride with your friends and that kind of thing, so it makes sense to an extent. But
Yeah,
yeah, there are options.
there are other options coming up, and then they're getting better and better now. So they're becoming a more obvious alternative to the big players. But
Okay, interesting. Well, we've had an exceptionally dry November, haven't we? So I guess opportunity to ride on the road has been a little bit more than it would this time of year. December looks not quite the same, so probably we might see a shift towards indoor training a little bit more.
Yeah, it's when the road salt goes down, isn't it? And people don't want to take their bikes out when there's salt on the roads because it just destroys everything.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And
all the cleaning that's involved with washing a bike down when you get back, and it's just nicer to have it all set up on the turbo, isn't it? And,
it is. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for it. Okay. We're going to hear from Dave in a minute, aren't we? And he's one of the Group 2 riders, but someone who we're probably a little bit more engaged with than some of the Group 2 riders, just because we know Dave really well. And I think there's a theme here which is interesting for people to listen to. And when we consider underdoing it, hitting the sweet spot, overdoing it, I think we'll conclude that Dave's in the latter category of that, isn't he?
Yeah, I've been back over Dave's training for the last few weeks, and it's pretty intense. But we'll hear from David on what he thinks about his training. But yeah, I think he's in the overdoing it category.
Okay, so let's bring in Dave. Pendlington joins us. Welcome, Dave.
Hi, Richard. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, mate. Nice to see you. We see a lot of each other during the season, don't we? So I'm missing you, other than the bike raffles. Nice to see you.
Yeah, the Croft stuff was great, like Richard. It was good to get out, and yeah, we always saw each other daffodils and white horse, I think, as well. But
Great Yorkshire.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah, let's hope it's all going to get better again.
Hope so.
Yeah.
So you're doing the program. We're what, 5 weeks in now? You're in one of the self-coached riders, aren't you? How's it going?
Shattered, I think, is probably the way to put it in. I took a rest day yesterday, first time for a while, and I think that's something I really need to ask Mark about, because I think I'm overdoing and plateauing a little bit, if anything.
Yeah, so, I think I've been having a look back over your training. So, what was it you were sort of trying to achieve with your training?
Yeah, well, I've been cycling now properly, as I put it. I think I got my first road bike about 2015. Did my first sport Eve 2016. Did a little bit mountain bike, and then just really keep the weight off because I got a job working from home and I was piling the beef on a bit. So really seriously about 2016, and I can see improvement year on year, though I've got no statistics or anything to back that up other than average speed. I think I had a cat eye the first time, and now that Strava and everything's about so much better. I've also got a Zwift, so I'm getting better data. So I want to keep that improvement. But when I get out on the road and things, I seem as though I'm just, it's unfair to say ticking over because I think I'm fairly quick, but I want to keep that improvement going.
Yeah, you've got a good overall pace, but I think by your own admission, you fall into this trap, don't you, of going too hard everywhere you go and doing too much and not taking any rest. Would that be a fair assumption to make?
I think it's a fair assumption. Yeah. As I said to Richard, one of the Velo 29 events, I said I'm improving every year, and by the time I'm 140, I should be in the Grand Tour. So that's what I'm looking for, improvement all the time. And when I entered the program, I put in I want to improve my FTP. I don't know if that's a way to go. But I also I've got a bit of a fear of hills in my head as well. So
yeah, so when I said I've been looking over your training, and you do fall into this trap of just constantly hitting the high intensity efforts, and you're going max everywhere you go with the efforts that you're doing. And the problem with doing that every time is it's impossible to progress from maximal efforts. If you go max every time you go out, you're too tired then to make the most of the next training session, and you end up on this plateau. So actually a more measured approach to your riding. So take those rest days, and slightly more of them, because like you said, I think you've had one rest day in the last 3 weeks.
That's right, yeah.
But also the rest of your training has been really, really high intensity, you know, lots of VO2 max efforts, anaerobic depletion sessions and that type of thing. And it's not possible to progress. So I'll give you some advice afterwards about how to maybe structure your training a little better, so that you're fresher, so that when you approach the interval sessions, you're able to perform to a higher standard. And then it's that performing to a higher standard each time that means you'll get over that plateau and start progressing again.
Yeah. I'll put some of the blame on Richard actually as well, because
I'm sat here thinking, I do remember our podcast, and I know you listen to it, that said this is the time of year to be resting, and the body goes up, then down to go back up again. And it sounds like you're trying to stay up here all the time.
I'm worried because of my age. You know, I'm knocking on a bit. I'm no spring chicken, Richard, to be fair. And I've always got that worry in my head. If I knock off for a while,
you're not coming back.
Yeah, I'm not coming back. And the other thing is, you keep putting things out like the medal scheme for 4,000 miles to March.
Yeah.
And I've fallen behind by about 200 miles, and I'm like, I'm not going to get this medal. You know, so it's competitiveness in it as well. So I've got to make a choice, I suppose.
It's the classic trap for self-coached riders. It really is, thinking that you've got to just continually be on it in order to improve.
So I guess I've just got. I guess I've just got to go for the bronze.
Stick with the bronze. Yeah. I think looking at it now, and I think we'll do it in years to come, I think we've maybe set the bench just a little bit too high, and we should have had a lower, put bronze a little bit lower, so that people could have a bit more of an off period.
Oh, sorry, I've got another foot. Sorry. I'm back again. Sorry. Yeah, just dropped out there.
I'll cut that out. So I think, like Mark says, that the rest is important, and I think cyclists are rubbish at it traditionally through all the levels as well. And that resting, it's like been a bit weak, a bit wet, and we shouldn't be doing it. But in reality, I compare it to other activities like going to the gym and stuff, and it's much easier then when you lift weights, you got to pick the first one up, you can't do it, you just don't continue. But with cycling, it's I need to get the miles in, and I'll just go a bit more gently. But in actual fact, you're wasting your time, and a day off is more effective. It's a discipline in itself.
There's a sweet spot, isn't there, between there's a sweet spot between too much rest and not enough. It's you've got to dose the body with a bit of exercise and then let it recover, because it's actually the recovery period that you make the adaptations to the previous training. So that's where you improve.
I remember I knew a guy out in France who used to race, and he used to do 15 hours a week religiously, and he never won a race. He dropped it to 9, and he won everything. And he was just doing too much. But it's so easy to get into the trap, isn't it?
Yeah, I've asked Richard in the past, as he knows as well, because I'm a competitive guy. You know, I came from playing football at a very poor level, to be fair. But I was always competitive there, and it's stuck with me, I think. And I'm asking Richard about how I can get more aero sometimes, Mark, and things like that. You know, so I was trawling through the internet as usual, and I was wondering about yoga and stuff like that. Would they be that sort of good thing for rest days?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yoga is always good for a strong core, but also it's about injury prevention as well. If you can rebalance the muscle groups and prevent any lower back issues and hip pain and knee injuries, then that. I know we've been talking about you doing too much on the bike, but if you can prevent injury, then you can obviously spend longer on the bike and not have to take several weeks off, you know, putter back out or something like that. So yeah, yoga is pretty low intensity, and I would recommend feeding that in as part of any rounded training plan. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I used to get a lot of swimming, but that's been put on hold this year. So that was usually helpful.
Well, unless you can find a lake or somewhere to swim.
Yeah. Well, we've got some nutters up here. The ice guys northeast, and they keep trying to get me to go in the harbour at Roker, Sunderland.
No thanks.
And they look terrible, honestly. when they're coming out, they look freezing, you know. So no, I
think that's only going to make you ill.
Yeah. Well, there's stuff floating about in the water there as well in Sunderland. So
keep the mouth shut. Yeah. It'd be good for the VO2, wouldn't it? An effort with your mouth shut.
Yeah.
What are you doing compared to previous years? And are you doing more hours and more intensity? Do you reckon?
Definitely. I think with COVID as well, Boris said, "You okay to cycle?" And I took that as a I can go out now and keep fit and stuff like that. And the roads were nice and quiet, so I think I've got more miles in this year with lockdown than less. So it's strange, yeah.
Strange, isn't it? More miles, less events.
Yeah.
Overdo it over the winter, and next year when there are events, you'll be knackered and injured. And
yeah.
Do be careful.
The thing was, when the events were going, you got more of a rest because you rest a couple of days before you go into the event. Yeah, I was feeling more tired in the Yorkshire one and whatnot.
Yeah.
To be fair, as you know, I went down the shorter route twice. You know, which
I was surprised you did the medium, didn't you? You've generally always done the long, haven't you? Even going back to the early days.
Yeah. Apart from the first one, I went on the stock and short the first one, and God, I was so nervous coming. I thought it was a race, you know, and everything. And I was thinking, I've got to do my best there. I've got to do my best. And then I realised what a great thing it was. You know, the friendship you get there at the events, the Velo 29 events and things. You know, I mean, even down to the lovely lady in the coffee thing who gives us me sausage sandwiches and things. You know, it's just a fantastic group. You know, you feel as though you belong. So. Yeah,
that's what we aimed for.
But, that first one, I was dead worried.
Yeah, it's funny to hear that, and we diversify a little bit, but it is interesting that for me, it's not that, and it's like completely anybody's welcome, and I think people who've taken part do say like what you've said. But yeah, you are turning up. You see people with fancy bikes on the roof of the car with loads of equipment and all that thing, and you think, "What am I doing here?" But in reality, it's not that, is it? It's just a bit of fun, and we have a little kid who's never done it before to a guy who takes it seriously, exactly. and everybody gets something out of it. So. Yeah. Well, Dave, sorry, go on, mate.
Sorry, that one at Redcar Beach where I turned up in the British cycling fella van came and everything. I was like, "Oh my goodness, what's happened there?"
You did the beach race, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, whilst you'd probably never do it again, I bet if you were to write down 10 memorable events you did on a bike, I bet that'd be up there.
Always remember that. I always tell everybody about it. Always say, I've got the Ridley bike I use and I'm still getting sand out with the front forks, even though I've watched it so many times. But it was a brilliant day out, really, when you look back. But I think I might do it again.
Yeah? I'll hold you to that.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, brilliant to hear how you're doing. Interesting as always, and I think there's a resounding get some rest in, isn't there? Don't overdo it. I think we structure the season so you can ease yourself in, and there's maybe a little bit of you should be doing that as well. But
yeah, well, I think it's sound advice. I'm going to try my best to rest. Put it that way.
Less is more in your case, definitely.
Yeah, if you can send us a text or something, Mark, if I'm doing too much, it'd be,
I will do.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, Dave, keep it up. Lovely to see you, and thanks very much. We'll be in touch soon.
Yeah, great to see you both. Bye.
Really great to hear from Dave, and super insightful. And I guess to an element, predictable of some cyclists. That happens, doesn't it? We are all guilty of going down that path. But I think there's some warning signs there that really needs to be heeded too, isn't there, Mark?
Yeah, so David, by his own admission, is tired. He's got sore legs, he's fatigued, and at this time of the season, when he's looking at target events, sort of March, April, May, and later into the year, he really is too tired now to make any decent training adaptations, really.
And in terms of like the outcome of that, I guess when you see overtraining, tiredness, where does that lead?
Well, at best, he's going to come out in the new season in exactly the same place as he is now. And the reason for that, at best, the reason for that is he's too tired to go any harder during his interval sessions. So the body works on this progressive overload, and it adapts to training stress, and then you push it harder next time, and it adapts to that training stress, and so on and so forth. And it's during the recovery time that it makes those adaptations. So he's not factoring in rest days enough. He's doing, in some cases, he's doing 13, 14 days of hard training on the bounce before he takes a rest day.
Wow.
And during those days of training, he's doing a lot of volume, but anaerobic and VO2 max efforts during those sessions as well. So he's too tired to go hard enough to make the adaptation, so he needs to rein it back a little bit. So at best, he comes out in the new season where he went in, and at worst, he falls victim to overtraining, which, if anyone's ever been through that process, it can make you ill. You feel really lethargic, tired, you can't sleep because your central nervous system's buzzing. And you'll have to take a couple of weeks off from the bike at least to recover from that. So that obviously puts you back a few steps in your training. So he really does need to factor in some more rest.
It's a harsh reality, isn't it? Then the best scenario is he doesn't get any better. The worst scenario is he makes himself ill, and I've seen some really good riders go down that path, and like you say, it's very difficult to come back from because you just don't know what to do. It's hard, and taking 2 weeks off.
The reason why you get yourself into that mess is because you're in the mentality that you need to keep training, and the last thing that you consider doing is taking 2 weeks off the bike. It's sort of counterintuitive, isn't it? But that's what you need to do.
Okay. So I think we clear message to Dave, as we said in the interview, tone it down. He's probably not completely in the red yet. He's heading that way. And if if that's ringing true with people who are watching, certainly pull it back, get the rest in, stop it before it becomes too late, and then get back on a more structured training program when you're feeling the body's recovered a bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, super insightful as always. Thanks very much, Mark, and thanks for everybody who's continuing to take part. The program's been really what we hoped it would be so far. We're getting loads of insight now, getting data, and it's really gaining some momentum from that perspective. So everybody, stick at it. Keep uploading your data to Training Peaks, and we'll be back next week. Thanks, Mark.
Cheers, Richard.
Bye for now.